Hi, and welcome to FrazlCast. Climb aboard the Gnome Train.
Chugga, 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 woo!
Please make sure to keep your limbs and experimental instruments inside the train at all times. And now, on with the show.
A podcast by a Blizzard fan gnome about World of Warcraft and geeky stuff. I promise you, they do talk about the World of Warcraft. They just go off the rails sometimes.
Tonight's episode will be a special report that I call All Things Gnomergon. We will cover every corner of the Lost City. We won't stop short of anything. No detail too small.
Oh, really?
Okay. Instead of that, and I got a facepalm from Medros. Yes!
And like a verbal facepalm from Toasty.
Yes!
And we just started. Obviously, these two are noobs to Frazley's show.
I listened to like 3 episodes yesterday. It was great.
Oh, thank you.
I think I'm growing like an immunity to your facepalms, Frazley.
Yeah, because like today you texted me about Pete from Swords Around Azeroth about the sea salty pun, and I talked with Pete today, and Pete said, yeah, that he kind of has an immunity now to my jokes. It's like a vaccination. The only vaccine you should not get is the facepalms. Get every other vaccine, but we'll move on from there. So instead of the All Things Gnomergon, we will do the normal show. So I'm Frazley, and I'm joined by the host of All Things Azeroth. I have Allie, Medros, and Toasty.
Hello.
Hi.
So in this episode, I will get to know Toasty's gaming history a bit more, and I'm going to ask the host of ATA some questions about their roles in ATA. We'll talk about a change to grouping, read off your answers to our community question, and more. But before we get into that, there's something we got to do.
It's time to go around the table.
Great idea. So what have you been up to recently? I will go alphabetically. So we will start with Toasty.
That's not alphabetical at all.
Oh,
You know your letters. Do I need to teach you your letters, Frazley?
maybe. I
mean, if we go by our real names, I'm definitely first.
That's true. You are. Yeah.
Ooh. A little bit of ATA trivia there.
Yesterday was raid night. That was a lot of fun. We made fantastic progress. We managed to get 7 out of the 8 bosses down in one night.
Nice.
I was very happy about that, especially considering just last week we spent a night and a half, roughly, on Zaquil. So to go from that to having 7 of 8 down in a night, and having us have enough time to make pulls on Ajara, that I was very happy with the progress. I peeked into Service's Twitch stream a little while ago. Looks like they're still plugging away at Ajara, but from what I noticed, there's a lot of people absent tonight. So I'm not sure how much progress is going to be made. I have faith, because it's a fantastic group.
I'm sure they're all here watching us.
Nope. I recognize some of these names, and none of them are in my raid team. Outside of that, I've been doing a lot of stuff outside and around the house because it's nice. And when you have nice weather in Canada, you take full advantage of it because it's not great weather for about half the year.
I know, eh?
Yeah, it's above freezing, so I'll take that. It's a balmy 12 degrees. No, it's actually stupid hot today. It's 32 Celsius. So I'm thankful for the air conditioning today.
Yeah. I've always wondered how people could survive without air conditioning.
I was actually reading something a little while ago, and apparently it's not all that common in other parts of the world, especially Europe, where the temperatures don't get too hot. They kind of just deal with the heat when it comes up, which is why it was such a problem during this past heat wave that some parts of that continent were getting. That's what happens when I read a lot of Reddit at work. I find out about random European living habits and their lack of AC. I could not cope.
Me either. I've been to one place where it wasn't humid, so there was no air conditioning, but it was a nice breeze designed through the house. And that's down in Guatemala. So I was like, okay, I could live there. I mean, though they did say it gets humid at times. So
my one experience with extreme heat and no air conditioning was at this point 7 years ago. I went to visit my family in the Philippines. It was about 42 degrees Celsius, so I'm not sure how hot that is in Fahrenheit. But this was at 3 a.m, so the sun wasn't out yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was humid because, Philippines, it's an island country.
Yeah.
Only one room in the house I was staying at had air conditioning. My family would cram ourselves in there like sardines, and all 7 of us would sleep in that room because
Oof.
you can imagine with 7 people, it kind of just defeated the purpose. But it was still cooler than it was in the rest of the house, so we took it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's a far tangent from what fun I was up to this week. But
Hey, this show has a lot of tangents, so it's
Yeah.
all good.
it's fine.
I'm going to go alphabetical order again. And this time I'm going to start with Allie.
You sure you're not going to do like reverse alphabetical and just save me for last?
No, I'm saving Medros.
Okay.
That's for last. Gotcha.
I don't pick favorites. I don't pick favorites. You're all my favorites.
Anyways. So I actually just a little bit this morning before work, I did a really cool quest for the Heart of Azeroth where you have to go out to Valshara and do things. And I won't talk too much about it because there's, a little spoilery there, but I really liked it. And there's just a little bit of story furthering with that. So that was really good. I enjoyed that. My raid on Sunday, we're still 6 of 8. We're stuck on Zaquil, Dayquil, whatever you want to call him.
NyQuil.
And NyQuil. But we're almost there. Like, we got really close. We should be able to get it this upcoming week. I did, however, on Tuesday, when I was raiding with the Rubber Chicken Coalition, get a 435 cloak.
Nice.
Which, it's really rare when anything Titan forges for me these days, so that was really exciting. And now I'm at 421 for item level. So that's pretty great. I'm almost honored with Rustbolt, so I've still got a ways to go, but I'm getting there. And I did get my Explorer Mechagon achievement, so I'm closer to flying by at least a little bit. I'm getting there. We've been watching Stranger Things 3.
Oh.
Like, we're only a few episodes in, but it's a good season so far.
Yes.
And I'm really excited because this morning I officially bought my plane tickets for BlizzCon.
Nice.
Yay! I have to book my flight home. I should do that soon.
Yeah, you should probably do that, eh?
Or
Yeah.
I'll just stay.
Your flight home from Florida, right?
Yeah, so that felt really good. It made it kind of feel more final, and we're still pretty far out, but I'm at that stage where, like, a couple of these, like, things I want to get done now. Like, for example, you got to book your flights. I really need new glasses, and I want to get it for BlizzCon, so that's a good thing to do ahead of time. So I'm going to actually start taking care of that this Saturday. And, just, like, little things like that you kind of have to do, like, in advance. You know? So,
I mean, it's important to see who you're meeting at BlizzCon.
yeah, that helps. That helps. I'm a little nervous about that, not gonna lie.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. However, we're gonna get there early, and our room won't be ready yet. So, Toasty, I might need a place to put our luggage until it opens up.
When are you getting there?
I think the plane lands a little after 11.
Like what day?
Oh, on the Wednesday.
I think I'm planning on being back in the area on the Wednesday. Like I'm spending. Oh, maybe not actually.
Okay, if
I'll
not,
let you
that's
know.
fine. I have other friends there. I can dump it off. It's fine. So yeah, I'm really excited about BlizzCon. We're getting a little bit closer, so I'm getting more excited. At the same time, also getting a little more nervous. But that's just something I'm going to have to work out because social anxiety is really fun, friends.
Oh, it is. And I don't like crowds. I mean, if I may seem like I'm very outgoing, but that's because I'm behind a monitor that, like, everyone's out there.
Right, like I have the security blanket of the monitor.
Yeah.
And even the webcam, because like I still get nervous on webcam, but at least I have that. It's not face to face, and you're only seeing like a portion of my face, and it's not like all of me, and it's through the webcam. And so to do it in person is a whole different ballgame, and that's one I'm actually really nervous for.
I mean, honestly, I'm the same way normally. I tell people now that I color crowds in 2 scenarios. First scenario is a mosh pit, because if they annoy me, I'll just push them away. As is the nature of the mosh pit. And the second scenario is BlizzCon, because all the social anxiety I have with normally going into a huge crowd of people, for some reason it just does not exist at BlizzCon.
Right.
Like, you take me at BlizzCon, you take me here at home, and people would think it's 2 different people because I'm super social at BlizzCon. I'm migrating between different groups of people and just hanging out and talking and doing all that. Meanwhile, at home, I'll go to a party and I'll find the dog and hang out
That's
with
what
the dog.
I do too.
and then if the situation allows, I'll pull an Irish exit.
So Toasty, speaking of mosh pits, I saw a picture on Facebook the other day that made me think of you. It was Shaquille O'Neal in a mosh pit.
Okay, I saw that video. First of all, that wasn't a mosh pit. I was in an EDM concert, and those don't exist there.
Okay. I just wondered how much you'd enjoy being in a mosh pit with somebody the size of Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, that'd be so much fun. Oh my god.
We have a very different definition of fun, my friend.
I mean, you're talking to the guy who, like, at Lincoln Park, walked away bruised and literally bloodied, and said it was the best experience of his life in terms of concerts. Remember the year that Lincoln Park played at BlizzCon? They had a small mosh pit going there, and somehow a cosplay version of Gorehowl made it into that pit, and I got smacked in the face with it. That was the best experience of life so far.
So Frazley, how many mosh pits have you been in your life?
I've been in a few. And like I'm tall enough that I can tower over everybody, but I've been in a few mosh pits and all that. So I've never done crowd surfing. That's a goal one day, but I think I would need like 5 or 100 people to.
5 or 100.
I would never ask anybody to allow me to crowd surf.
I crowd surfed once when I was like 17. So I was like 150 pounds lighter. So it was a little easier back then. But that was a great experience. I've only actually had the one bad experience with crowd surfing. And it was because somebody was crowd surfing. And, you know, when you crowd surf, you're supposed to lay relatively still, right? Let the crowd carry you. No. This girl decided she was going to kick her legs around like a fool. And smoked me in the face. It is her fault that I can't smell anything anymore. Because I broke my nose.
Oh!
I got kicked in the face, right? So I'm like, okay, it's bleeding. Yes, I got kicked in the face. It's bruised. So I didn't think anything of it. And that happened when I was 16. And when I was 20, I went to the doctor to address some problems with my nose. They were going to take my adenoids out because I snore like crazy, as is the reality of a person of my size. But they thought that removing the adenoids thing would help. And then they're like, we're going to fix your nose too. I'm like, fix my nose? What's wrong with my nose? Well, it was broken. And
surprise!
And it doesn't look like it was fixed properly. I was thinking to myself, I can't think of any time that I got hit hard enough in the face that I broken my nose. Because I got hit in the face a lot. And then I thought of that concert. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that sucks. So, and I asked the doctor, is that why I said the smell has been going away? And he's like, that's probably why. I asked if it would come back, and he said probably not.
Oh.
So here we are 12 years later, it has not come back.
Oh.
I'm sorry about that. Oh.
Yeah, it happens. It's a cool story, though.
Yeah.
So you truly cannot stop and smell the roses.
This is accurate, yeah.
Now, can you smell odors?
No, I got nothing.
Which is, okay, that's good. For BlizzCon, you can't smell the odors. Got it.
See, that's a good and a bad thing. Because,
man, that so explains year 2 BlizzCon. That definitely explains a lot in year 2 BlizzCon.
A lot of people say, yeah, you can't smell things, and that sucks, but that means you can't smell the bad things, which is also true. Except at my last job, some people knew this about me. They knew I couldn't smell anything. So whenever they needed to let one rip, and they couldn't make it somewhere to do it politely, because I kind of sat on my own, they would just come up to my desk.
What?
And make an excuse to talk to me about something.
Wow.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
And the worst, if I didn't know it, I wouldn't care, right? Like, ignorance is bliss in that scenario. No, people would straight up tell me that that's what they did every once in a while. Like, why would you tell somebody that?
Yeah. Hey, so Medros, this week, has anybody come up to you and said that they wanted to fart around you?
Only one person.
Wow.
The word only is interesting to me. Like, does this happen on a regular occasion? Is it usually more than one?
It happens fairly regularly. It's always the same person.
Would that be your wife?
Yes.
Oh, that's love right there.
Yeah. Yeah. See, love being able to fart around somebody and both love each other. Yeah, that's true love. So, other than that, what have you been up to this week, Medros?
I went on my flight master's whistle. I I spent a lot of time on a boat. Hit 28 in Wizards Unite. Got a shiny Coughing. And I'm really looking forward to a shiny Rayquaza. That's been about my week.
Nice.
You know, the only one thing of all that list is in World of Warcraft.
Hey, I've had weeks like that. Like I talked with a podcaster who does WoW, and they said there were times where they would just log in for a screenshot and log out.
I mean, you got to be in the right mood. I mean,
Yeah.
WoW, realistically, WoW is a game you got to be in a mood to, because it's not something you can really tackle for a short amount of time. When
Yeah.
you're sitting down to play WoW, you're committed for at least an hour, I'd want to say, to do anything super meaningful in the game. It's not like Overwatch where I'm popping in for 10 minutes and then, okay, I'm going to go cook dinner.
If an invasion had been up, I probably would have gone on my Draenei Paladin and done some leveling with him, because invasions are a really good way to level quickly on a character. But there's no invasions up at the time, so I went and played The Sims.
Ooh,
I
nice.
thought you were done with that.
On the laptop that my wife uses, because that's the only computer in the house that actually works on.
Okay. There you go.
Because I've been hearing about the Sim Saga, that it's been hard to...
Sim Saga. It's a good name for it.
Maybe it's a Windows 7 problem. I don't know, but yeah.
I think it's an EA problem. I'm spilling the tea on that.
It works fine on the laptop out there that has worse specs than this machine here, so I don't know.
Yeah.
The only difference that would make this one worse is Windows 7 versus Windows 10.
I can
Because
see...
I hate Windows 10.
We have like one computer at work that is Windows 7, and we think that it's network issues because of 7, that they must have done something with the code in 10.
I'll be honest, Windows 10 runs a lot better on a lot of hardware.
Yeah.
I just don't like it because it doesn't let me do what I want and makes me do stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I believe in consent, optional consent in computer stuff and in a lot of other things.
And everything. Consent is good. And consent is a good concept just in general.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's like...
and unfortunately, Microsoft no longer believes in consent, so I have issues
When
with
it comes to hardware updates, people.
Yeah. Right before the
software
show.
updates. Software updates. When it comes to software updates, they believe in consent. And they, you know what? Yeah. This is...
It's amazing how if you find a way, you could frame any conversation in just the right way. And also, I noticed that 3 people on this call all have the exact same mic. Somebody doesn't, though. Somebody doesn't up there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fancy. Which one's that? I would think about picking up a new one, honestly.
It's the High PR40. I like it. I've got that boomy voice, or at least I think I do in my head. I think I've got the boomy voice. I mean, though, if I have a voice...
It works even better if I have a voice modifier. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
I love it.
So... Which is great. I think the mic also is good for singing.
I get cold to modify my voice. That's all I got to do.
Yeah, because you sound like Frostmourne.
Your voice gets modified a lot when you have a cold.
Yeah.
Frostmourne hungers.
Wow, you are great at that.
I took Frostmourne out of the closet this weekend.
Did he give you consent?
You don't really ask him consent for anything. He just does. He just hungers and just takes.
Yeah, and Frostmourne decides when they want to mount people, and
I think Allie's gonna crack right away.
This is the point of the show, folks, where Allie bites her tongue and remembers that this is a very, this is an appropriate show. And she just sits back and drinks.
And if people wonder why this show has an explicit rating, it's because sometimes guests are unpredictable, and I'm just like, I'm not going to take all the time to edit stuff out, so you get people. You get us.
You get what you get, and you don't get upset.
People can be messy sometimes.
Yes.
That was the motto with my nephews raising them the past. Oh God, they're oldest 13 now. There was one thing that's the one thing that I remember vividly, telling them repeatedly.
Yeah, it's like I want some new mounts in game, but the ones I got are the Azure Drake and the Black Drake, and the Black Drake is a 100% drop if you're on 10 man. I did get a wolf mount though. I finished the every tail.
Hey, Gretz.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Toasty, does that saying also apply to playable Tortolans?
Yeah.
All right, just checking. Just making sure on that.
Wait, did Wowhead just release something, or
No.
am I... Oh, okay, because I just opened up Wowhead.
You get what you get. You don't get upset. He hasn't gotten playable Tortolans, so he can't be upset.
I will feign outrage. I will feign outrage till the day I die. Will I actually be super upset? Probably not.
But the happy, if it ever happens, will be real.
I mean, I think it's pretty shellfish of Blizzard to not...
Did you really just do that, Frazley?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yes. But I think with that, I think it's time to move into our interview because I think people that listen have gotten a taste of ATA and kind of a taste of like the chemistry. This is what I love when I listen to ATA. I love that back and forth between the three of you. It is. I was just listening today. It was.
You know, this is really giving me an itch to do maybe a video episode of ATA.
Ooh,
That'd be fun.
that'd be awesome. Sneak preview, everybody, of the future. If you're watching on video, if you're watching on audio, then you can imagine all of our pretty faces looking out at you.
Toasty's posing right now, so audio listeners, you're missing that right now.
Yes.
He looks so pretty.
Yeah, you're missing a note real bad there.
Yeah. So, Allie, you've been on this show quite a few times. I consider you quite a regular.
You're insane and you keep asking me on, so that's a thing.
Because you're awesome. I think you're a seasoned podcaster, and I enjoy having you on. So I thought it'd be cool to have you help me ask Toasty and Medros some questions. And don't worry, I got a few questions for you too. So Toasty, how did you get into gaming?
I got into gaming similarly to, I probably feel like a lot of kids, I'm 32, how a lot of people my age got into gaming. I mean, my parents had an NES. That was the console that we had for a good chunk of my childhood. And we played a whole bunch of games on that together. I mean, the first game I remember playing is ice hockey for the NES. Because of course it was. I'm Canadian. In addition to that, we played Bobble, which was just this fantastic game. For anyone who hasn't played it, you play as these two little monster dudes. I think they're
Bobble?
Yeah.
Love that game.
And you catch monsters in bubbles and then pop them to kill them. And they turn into food.
And you can like bounce on the bubbles to get to like the different layers.
Yeah.
And
it was a great game and it killed a lot of time for us growing up. One of the things that annoyed me about that game though was that you had to beat it a certain way to get the good ending. If you didn't, then you just like, okay, we'll try again. And to get the good ending, you had to, on level 99, there was a book that you had to get, but it was like stuck in this one square in the middle of the walls, in a thick layer of walls. And the only way to get to that square was to jump up on your bubbles and collect that book. And if you collected that book, you unlocked levels past 100. I think it was another 20 levels.
You got further in that game than I ever did.
And once you beat those 20 levels, you had to beat the boss, but you had to beat the boss with 2 players. If you beat the boss with 1 player, it gives you a message like, oh, you rescued the girls, but the other girl is missing her buddy. So you gotta do it again.
Aww.
So you have to, if you got the crystal, it gave you, so, I can't remember the message it gave you, but it's like I think it just said you missed the crystal or something. It was a crystal or a book, I can't remember. I think I've gone back and forth on that a couple times now. It was one of those things where you had to be in a certain way, otherwise it yelled at you. And you better believe that my family, like all 5 of us, took turns trying to get it right. Although towards the end, it definitely turned into, okay, I'll play through the game solo because I can. Collect the bubble, collect the trinket thing on level 99, and on the last boss, just as I'm about to deliver the final blow, I will press start on the other controller. Because if you press start, the other player would steal one of your lives.
Oh, sneaky.
And yeah, then I'd get the good ending. Why would you go through all that effort of playing the game to get the not great ending?
I know, because at the end they would just burst your bubble.
To override Frazley there, I just hearing you talk about it, I am hearing the music from that.
Oh my god.
And that music, I could have gone years without playing it, and for some reason that music will just randomly pop in my head, and I'll just be like humming it in my head throughout the entire day.
Oh, it's so good. It's fantastic.
It's just lighthearted and fun and upbeat, and
for a little while it was my email ringtone. It was my email notification sound.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I gotta set all that up again on my phone. Apparently I didn't move everything over, even though I said move everything over. All my ringtones are gone. Which, like, whatever. It gives me the opportunity to explore it a bit more.
Yeah, and I know a ringtone you can get if you're on the Apple iTunes store.
He's an Android user.
Oh, so okay, because there's a song by a Jonathan Bloom that you can listen to on.
I'm aware of that song. It's on my.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
It's on my party mix.
You're the one that I get the email every year.
You're the one.
Spotify sends me an email every year saying you've had 2 listens this year. I'm like, okay, you're the one.
Yeah. No, like I'm not even joking. It is on. I have a party mix called Angie and Colin's Party Mix because it's the party mix we listen to whenever I'm at their place, and it's just full of ridiculous songs.
Mine's definitely ridiculous.
I am shocked by this information, Frazley. I never thought you'd do anything ridiculous.
It's not even that the songs are ridiculous. It's just the combination of songs on this playlist is a bit ridiculous. Like we've got "It's About Time" by Lilix, "Stacy's Mom" by Fountains of Wayne.
Oh, she's got it going on. Yeah.
1985 by Bowling for Soup.
Do you have the Portal songs?
I don't. We do not have the Portal song on here.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have the songs from the ATA pre-show because those are ridiculous.
These are all songs that we kind of, with the exception of Frazley's song, these are all songs that we kind of grew up like just jamming to and listening to. And looking back at it now, it's just a ridiculous mix because like we got some pop punk, some punk, some metal, and then we have Vanessa Carlton.
Ooh,
1,000 Miles. That's the first song on the playlist.
1,000 Miles.
Yeah, we're a weird group, but hey,
There's nothing wrong with that. Normal's boring. It's just a setting on a washer. That's all normal is. So
it's just I like that. I've never heard that phrase before.
I'm going to make no comment at this point.
So moving on, dear Toasty, how did you get into World of Warcraft?
As many of my stories go, I got into it because of a girl.
That does not surprise me.
No, both of you would expect that.
Absolutely 100%.
So this girl I was seeing for a little bit, and I mean, to be fair, I'd always had a passing interest in World of Warcraft, but I knew my personality, and I knew if I started playing it, I just wouldn't stop, which turned out to be true. So yeah, we were dating for about a month, and we looked at it as a way of spending time together. So we started playing on Twisting Nether. Was my first server. She was playing a Blood Elf Paladin.
Good choice.
I decided to make a Tauren Druid. So my first character was a Druid.
I thought your first one was a Hunter for some reason.
Druid.
Okay.
Because he wanted to tank, so it makes sense that he would roll it.
I was balanced. Played balance.
I mean, when you're a Druid deck, you are truly a meat shield.
Absolutely.
That is the definition right there of meat shield.
A non-vegan meat shield, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely not vegan. That's the furthest from vegan you can get. So yeah, we dated for a month. We started playing WoW together, and eventually, like it just didn't work out as relationships do. And I continued playing. I obviously didn't continue playing on the same server as her because that was a little weird. So I re-rolled on Blackhand. And I chose Blackhand because, for anybody who knows this, I'm a huge fan of The Godfather, and Blackhand's another name for the Mafia. So I picked Blackhand and made a Night Elf Warrior, quested around Darkshore for a little bit, ran into somebody from a guild called the Guardians of the Light. And I've been gaming with at least one person from that guild ever since. Now it's just the one person from that guild. But I mean, like, that was in 2009, so it's 10 years later. We're all still close. We talk all the time. 2 of them are getting married, and I'll be going to their weddings in the next year or 2.
Oh, that's cool.
That's how I got into it, and it's been a hell of a ride. I've been really enjoying it, obviously, because I talk about it every week for at least an hour.
Because it's incredible that your love of WoW gives you a vehicle, and I think tonight, it's time for all things Azeroth.
So getting into all things Azeroth, or all things Azeroth. How did you get into podcasting, Toasty?
My first taste in podcasts in general were Warcraft podcasts, specifically the WoW Insider podcast and All Things Azeroth. Those were the first 2 podcasts I listened to. I got hooked onto All Things Azeroth because I was listening to an episode of WoW Insider, and they'd mentioned at one point that Medros was from Winnipeg. I'm like, oh, a Winnipegger, and he's got a WoW podcast. I'm going to listen to this. So I listened to that, and then I started coming to live shows, and
It must have been like one of 3 times they ever mentioned me on their show.
I think they were mentioning Gimli or something like that, and it's either Gimli or Manitoba, and Rossi had mentioned that you lived near there or there. So I checked it out and started listening to the show there. My first stint at podcasting was actually it was a guest appearance on Group Quest.
Yeah.
A long time ago. It was the first year I went to BlizzCon 2013. I won that at the guest spot on the show at the Twisting Nether party. That went fantastically poorly. I was not prepared for that show at all. Like I didn't realize I didn't really know what to do, what to say. And I feel like I talked out of my butt for a lot of it, like more so than I normally do, which is saying a lot. Like at that time, I was a very very casual player of WoW, and I remember specifically they were talking about some of the new stats that were getting introduced in the next expansion, and I was so lost on any of those stats because I barely paid attention to stats prior to that. Like, okay, I'm a warrior, I need strength and probably stamina because I like being alive.
Yeah,
I was vaguely aware that I needed to be worrying about armor penetration and.
Stam helps to stay alive. Yes, I can confirm.
I mean, armor penetration was a thing in 2013. I think specifically it was crit. But anyway, I knew that and didn't really know anything else. So I felt very poorly about that episode. Like, okay, you know what? Maybe I won't do this podcasting thing. Like 2 years later, I guested on ATA after somebody fell ill. And then eventually, Emma had decided to leave the show because she wanted to focus on some real life stuff, and that's when Medros asked me to join in. At that point, I was definitely more comfortable with the whole idea of podcasting, especially because, like, at that point, Medros, Fan, and I, like, we just talked about WoW anyway, and I felt like I carried that conversation for a little while, so I went for it. And here we are, 4 years later. I'm still podcasting.
I can relate to like the first appearance, because my first appearance was on All Things Azeroth on the Warriors cast, and I felt so nervous. Like, I don't think I spoke up as much on that one.
The first one is such a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine how you did it, Ellie. That's like, because not only was, like, you know, your first one, but you're flying solo, which is just. The idea of that also terrifies me. Like that's why I have to be talking to streaming so much because like it's just me.
So solo sometimes works out nicely because you don't have to worry about other people's schedules and just do it on your time.
Right.
Other times you feel like you're going insane, and then everything in between. So
you're talking to yourself.
Yes, pretty much. Like my first podcasting wasn't my show though. Like I guested on World of Warcast first, and then started my show. But either way, yeah. So, Toasty, what is the best piece of advice anyone has ever given you?
Like life advice or podcasting advice? That's a broad and open question.
That is. Let's stick with podcasting.
Yeah. I mean, because I think in the beginning, Medros brought up a good point about consent. I mean, that it's good to have consent and all that, but...
the best piece of advice I got about podcast, like, I'm still blown away that people take time out of their weeks to listen to me talk. And I can't believe that it happens. And there's always that bit of doubt, like that I'm not doing what I need to be doing to put out a quality thing. And somebody told me that, you know, if that was the case, they wouldn't be listening to you right now. And just be comfortable with what you're putting out there. I'll always be willing to improve on that and look and take the steps that you need to do that. I mean, for me personally, what I do to try to live up to that is like I'll go back and listen to the shows every once in a while that we record. Like, okay, what did I sound like? Did I sound like a complete idiot here, or something along those lines of what could I have done differently or said differently to better communicate whatever idea that I had? But just be comfortable with what you're doing and try not to piss people off.
Yeah. I have to go back and like Allie always reminds me in different places to be human, be yourself, and People will like you for who you are. You can't be anybody else, but you be you.
Yep. You're not going to please everybody. You got to accept that, especially when you're putting out your work for the internet to enjoy. Not everybody is universally liked, and you got to live with that.
Yeah, I had a few people who just said they didn't like what I do. I mean, I tried to figure out if there's anything I could modify, but I try to attract people that like what I do, and I mean, like my unique charm and my uniqueness.
Yeah,
you are
exactly.
very unique. You're very unique.
In a good way. In a good way.
Well,
let's face it. The world is a large place. You're gonna find somebody out there who likes what you're putting out there.
Yeah,
you got to be happy with that, and also don't be a dick.
Yes, absolutely. Will Region's rule, and I think that's
it's a good rule.
I tell people in my Twitch chat, remember, there's a person behind every avatar, every username. That person has feelings, and as long as what you're saying doesn't try to offend them and make them feel bad, then it's good.
There's offering constructive criticism, and there's being a dick.
Yeah.
And you gotta learn that line. And often I find that line is when people ask for the constructive criticism. Because otherwise, I feel like just throwing it out there at somebody comes off as being kind of a jerk.
Yeah, I had to learn that. Like, I don't try to tell people things that, unless they ask me about it, I try to keep my opinions to myself because...
Yeah, odds are they felt that way about themselves at some point anyway.
Yeah.
They're aware of that, and they're doing what they can to try to fix it. At least that's what I've found when I've seen some comments.
So, Allie, you're a new co-host. I'm not going to give you any constructive feedback. I'm not going to give you any constructive criticism. I'm going to ask you the questions, though.
Okay.
So, what has it been like the past 8 months being a co-host?
It's honestly been a roller coaster. And it's a roller coaster of my own doing, I guess.
Will I get fired? Will I not get fired?
Exactly. Because in my mind, like, I am not good enough to be on All Things Azeroth. And there are some weeks where I walk away like, that was an awesome show. I did a great job. I didn't stumble over every single word. Actually, had clear points and I didn't ramble as much and it was great. And other weeks where I stumble every sentence and repeat myself and say things that don't make sense or whatever, and I walk away like, oh my god, I am crap, I should not be on this show, it's horrible. So it's and it really is of my own doing. But that aside, it's been pretty awesome and amazing to be on such a long-running show that has had so many fantastic guests and hosts in the past, and it still blows my mind sometimes that I'm on it. And not just as like a regular guest, but like as a co-host. And I often feel like I don't do enough, but I try. And I think as I've gone along, like I'm starting to find my feet and get more comfortable and switching into that role of co-host, not just guesting,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Finding like I've had that with Pete and Storage around Azeroth, and even when Draven had me on as kind of a guest or host on Epic Fail podcast, I tried to get more comfortable being part of what there's being a host and stuff like that. In Medros, I echo Allie's statement about the long running show. There are people that don't play World of Warcraft anymore who know All Things Azeroth. So I go into a lot of people in real life who know All Things Azeroth. So it has a good reputation.
I wish they'd come back to play World of Warcraft so they could start listening to the show again.
Oh, me too. Like I met one who was like, "Are you coming back for Classic?" Oh, I don't know. I'm like,
yeah, those Classic people probably don't want to listen to All Things Azeroth, for my opinions.
Oh, what do you mean? No.
Wow, let me tell. Not gonna go there.
Let's not.
Yeah. So, Allie, what has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome?
Yikes. Kind of like what I alluded to myself. Imposter syndrome is very much a thing, and it is a thing that kicks my booty on a very regular basis, and it's something that I am constantly struggling with. So, I can sit here and say, it's the time it takes to podcasting, and it's the trying to be, energetic and that kind of thing. But really, ultimately, what it comes down to is just my own brain and how it works.
I feel like if you don't have imposter syndrome at least twice a year as a podcaster, you're probably getting a very large paycheck to do it.
Twice a year.
I have
try multiple times a
syndrome as
month.
Human.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I don't have that problem. I mean, I know I'm human. I don't feel like I'm an imposter in being a human. But
Okay, that was poorly worded. I have imposter syndrome as a day-to-day adult at doing the things that I do.
You and me both, buddy. You and me both.
That's what everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm editing the show, I'm like, what am I doing? Why don't I just be a podcast listener? I can listen to all the podcasts. And
Right. For example, every time someone has me as a regular on their show, I think they're crazy. And why? Like, anytime anyone asks me to be a regular. So when, Medros was talking to me about being a co-host, like, it took me a moment to get my jaw off the floor because why me? That whole concept. So, yeah.
I cannot think of a single person that's been a co-host on ATA since probably my second co-host that did not have the jaw on the floor response to being asked. And I mean, that tells me that I got the right person. Because
that was...
Fair enough.
If you believe you deserve, or it is something you have a right to expect to be on ATA, then you probably don't.
I mean, I find that that's just a good way to approach everything. Honestly, I find myself rarely going into a situation where, like, I'm expecting this to happen. Like, this is 100% mine, guaranteed, and how dare they give it to anybody else but me? Mm-hmm. Like, no, every experience you have in life is an opportunity that's been given to you, and best you can do is hope not to screw it up.
Yeah,
but Josie, I have to say, it's a very, very lovely hat you're wearing. I must say, very lovely hat.
It was a very nice gift from some fantastic friends of mine.
My dog gave it a kiss for good luck.
As a podcast host, as the main host of ATA, I could look for a voice. I could look for a Lil Laporte type voice, or Scott Johnson voice, or somebody who speaks super well and is very eloquent and very, practiced and does podcasting perfectly every episode. There's no there's no ahs. They can put a show out 10 minutes after they stopped recording. But then I'd have an ego on my hands, and I don't want egos. I want people who are there for knowing.
You definitely don't have
I want people who are there, who are on ATA, and this is what I look for in podcasts I listen to as well. I want people who are there because they know what they're talking about and can present it to me in a way that I'm going to enjoy myself, not necessarily in a way that is going to be perfectly spoken. If I want that, I'll go listen to the NPR podcasts, and then I'll go to my bed because I'll be going for a nap.
Yeah.
One thing I read about podcasts a little while ago, and it wasn't specifically about podcasts, it was about people who are wanting to start a podcast, is that people are going to forgive a lot of things when they listen to a podcast. They're going to forgive people's sound quality, because the reality is podcast it's largely an amateur endeavor where you're not going to have the best equipment and all that. People are going to forgive people stumbling over their words every once in a while, because, again, it's an amateur endeavor most of the time. The thing that's going to keep people coming back to a podcast is the content of the podcast, and if it's a multi-host thing, the chemistry between the hosts.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
As long as you've got good content and fantastic chemistry, you can screw everything else up. You can have people sounding like they're talking on a tin can across, connected by string, and people are still going to come in and enjoy that banter and whatever you're talking about, if that's what they're into.
Yeah. And like Toasty, make sure to turn in that quest for the...
That was not me, Toasty.
That wasn't me either. I did
me.
not plan that. That is simply...
Really?
I did not plan that.
You know what I'm sure, but I'm sure that Medros himself did not pick up that World Quest before completing a World Quest.
That is correct. I did not. I did not pick it up because I did not think I was doing any world quest that day.
This is the banter that I love on the ATA. I mean, this is like your three friends, like, and you can tell that when you're on the show, you can just tell like your friends, you're getting together to talk about WoW, and you're just having a good time. Like it was cool. The after show on the last one, Ali and Toasty were in Overwatch, and Toasty's going and all that, and just having a lot of fun. And
yeah, that's probably accurate. That's probably exactly what I said.
Yeah, that is actually what happened.
Overwatch is a fun game, but it's frustrating as heck sometimes.
yes,
Yeah.
I just assume I go into it assuming I'm going to die. That's all.
Yeah. It's a good assumption.
I'm not good at FPS, so I'm not really good at mini games.
Well, I'm not good at FPS either. Doesn't stop me from playing it.
Okay. So Medros,
Yes, Frazley.
one thing that you've taken up the mantle of doing again is editing. And this part interests me a lot because I just have a couple questions on it, because before I started doing a podcast, I didn't understand the work of editing. I feel like we've got a bond, or at least we understand things better, because this show takes me considerable time each week to edit, and I'm going to bet the same thing for you. So how long do you find it takes you to edit the show each week on average?
Total edit time from start to finish?
Yes.
Depends how picky I'm going to be. And how busy I am. There are absolutely some weeks where I was so busy that I barely had any time to edit, and it was basically one listen through and it's done. That's 3 hours. There have been episodes where I spend at least 10 hours editing for an hour and a half episode. It really depends on how much time I have, but there's always those moments where I have to say, okay, I can't do anymore. Like this is the best I can do. It's not going to get any better. I'm not going to have any more time, especially if I know stuff's happening, like if I'm leaving out of town or company's coming, or literally like anything better would take too much more time, and it's just not worth the effort. So yeah, sometimes you just got to suck it up, and that's what you got. And then there's the episodes where my co-hosts break off or don't do the recording properly, or don't get their upload to me right away, or stuff like that, and that takes more time because then I've got to do some stuff that you know, like chasing after people because they haven't got me on their sides of the show. You know, that can be a little hard too.
Why don't you just call me out already?
Hey, you've both done that. You've both made me chase you for episodes.
I may have only uploaded my episode today? Wednesday? Tuesday? I didn't do it Monday like I normally do.
Up on Tuesday? No, Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday.
At least you didn't take over Medros' entire Dropbox by uploading in Wave like I did.
That is also very true.
No, but you could take over the entire Dropbox by recording nonstop for 24 hours, right, Medros?
Those don't get saved into the Dropbox.
I just wanted to point it out.
Oh! I see what you're doing there.
So we got a message from Medros on Tuesday that he kind of just forgot to stop the recording on one of his recordings.
It's only 26 hours.
Hey, yeah, I mean, bonus content.
It was 1.3 gigs in MB3. It's not a big deal.
That's it. Oh, that's nothing.
I've got terabyte hard drives here. I got lots of room.
If that was Wave, that'd be like 3 petabytes.
Easily.
If it was Wave, I kissed my hard drive goodbye.
Well, it probably would have stopped recording.
Would have when my computer crashed.
Forced.
I'm surprised that you passed up the opportunity to say Wave goodbye to my hard drive.
Oh.
He doesn't do the puns like you do, Frazley, so
Yeah, I'm not as punny as you. I try to be more subtle in my jokes. Therefore, the face palms are truly earned instead of just expected.
The trouble with your subtlety in your jokes is sometimes we just don't realize it's a joke.
I understand that. Yeah.
And then sometimes you make the joke and didn't realize you didn't make it.
Wait, you mean I'm not subtle?
No.
No, I'm talking about our friend Toasty down here, who, at least on my screen, he's down here. And when we recorded Monday, he made quite the pun, and didn't even realize it until I called him out.
Yes, the method of our madness.
Oh, that was the method thing, right? So there's a method to my madness. What? That was a joke.
And the next topic was me talking about Mythic getting for world first. And so I thought it was totally intentional and just the smooth segue. And I was like, oh yeah, look at this collaboration. Good job, Toasty. And then I pointed it out and he's like, oh, didn't actually mean to do that.
Maybe there are some beneficial tips that Toasty can get on puns.
So, I'm terrible at puns. My pun game is super.
Clearly, you need to take the FrazlCast lesson in punning.
Yes.
So speaking of tips, what are some editing tips you've gotten that people might find beneficial, Medros?
Don't be a perfectionist. Hard limit yourself, not only in your audio, but in your time. If you at all possibly can, try and stick to a schedule. Having a hard schedule is very, very beneficial when you're trying to get an audience to regularly keep up with what you do. But it's also good because it stops you from saying, "Oh, I don't recording it for another 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks to get this thing." No. There are shows, I'm not going to name any names, but there are shows that I've been on where, we'll have that out in like 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm like, but then everything we talked about is stale.
Yeah, I try to warn people if I have to do that for a reason, let them know, just so you know. I mean, timeless.
I totally understand, like, there's some podcasts that, like, over Christmas or over the summer, they'll pre-record some stuff. Something like National Podcast Post Month, which is something I participated in once before, or actually 3 times before. That's something you pre-record a lot for because you want to get stuff in the can so that you're not recording every night and editing every night, because, that can be hard. I made that mistake every year. Did not have enough ready. And was like, all right, it is 11:59 and I just got the show uploaded. Now I got to do some more show. But yeah, just sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But if at all possible, try and stick to a schedule so that you force yourself to limit the time you put in and limit the amount of energy you put in. Because the return on investment of energy and time definitely goes downhill after a certain point when editing.
Yeah.
And Medros, you're just calling out everybody on our show. You called out Allie and me. Sounds like you're calling yourself out there.
I'm definitely calling myself out.
He's doing himself too. I mean,
I'll be 100% with you guys here. The last several episodes of the show should have been on Thursday, but I was just being too picky, pushing too hard to try and get that little bit more quality out, and it just wasn't worth it. But it's just time and energy. Sometimes weeks happen like that. I try not to make excuses, though. Where possible, sometimes, like, I'm on the show tonight, so I'm not going to get any editing done tonight. Last week I had guests coming. I was doing a lot of stuff around the house. Didn't get the show done very well, or didn't get it done quickly enough. My goal is always to get back to the Thursday release schedule for ATA, though. Just need to lock myself within time and, like, get myself to do the stuff and be happy with what I've got. But yes, I will call myself out just as much as I call anybody else out.
And believe me, I get it. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking through all the things I got to do this weekend and where am I going to fit in the editing time for here. So
the best thing is if you are confident enough with what you record to release it immediately. I am not.
Me either.
Because and then brewing vaping from the thing or sipping from a rum cup or Diet Pepsi bottle.
Yeah, I keep my sipping quiet, good sir. Thank you very much.
I'm pretty good with muting, like 95% of the time.
As Frazley takes a drink, we all have those tics. Sean, our former editor, he actually every so often would put up on Twitter that he had literally trained his eyes to know my my and my and he could visually see them on his thing, and he would put a screenshot of his thing saying, there's another there's another from Medros. I'm like, thanks.
I remember, I'll never forget the episode he called me out for not changing the battery of my fire alarm.
Was it beeping every 15 minutes in the background? With
it was more than every 15 minutes. But, like, in my defense, that happened just before the show started. It started beeping.
Wow.
Like, what am I going to do now?
That had to hurt for editing. Oh, God.
Going back to my first co-host, there's always been those things that you have to, this thing is said too much, or this tick is done too much. You need to kind of reduce that, but you can't reduce them all.
No.
I've edited shows that basically, if you believe that was the recorded version, nobody on the show breathed. Nobody on the show took a breath. Nobody on the show paused at all. Because there was like no more than like a split second between each person talking and each word spoken. That sounded really funny and really unreal, and was the last time I ever did that, because that took 3 weeks to edit that, and I probably put about 40 hours in on that edit.
That's a good way to look at it, really. Yeah, like I know for me, I'm working hard.
Yeah.
To not feel like I have to edit out every single breath, because I've noticed there are certain times I'll edit out one of my breaths, and that actually makes words come together in a really awkward way, and it does not sound right at all. And so I'm having to retrain my brain and to learn that it's okay, because that sounds a little too unnatural.
One of the best tips I got early on for editing, and it wasn't given to me, it was just said on a podcast, is don't try and edit everything out. Try and edit so it's natural. Everybody will say an Everybody will say an ah.
Yes.
Everybody will pause a moment while they're thinking. And when you're talking, when you're speaking, you don't need to be Captain Kirk or Barack Obama, but you do need to speak normally. You pause. You think. You move from one sentence to the next. You know, it's basically, does this sound like, if I was reading it off a paper, this would sound real? And that's what you go for. Editing too much, and you remove that. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like it's a conversation, and that's what you want. You want a conversation with your audience.
And that's one thing like that people say about podcasting, is it is more conversational. It's more real. And I find that the ticks, somebody listened to the show because they knew that I wasn't a professional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that I like that.
I mean, yeah, let's be realistic. Like, when it comes to podcasting, especially, a lot of what people talk about in podcasts is like the news of, well, whatever they're happen to be talking about. In our case, it's World of Warcraft. The reality is, if people just wanted the news for World of Warcraft, they would go to MMO Champion or Wowhead. If they want to hear people's opinions on it, or just people talking random stuff while also discussing the news, then they're gonna go to podcasts.
I'll tell you, currently one of the biggest banes of my editing life right now is this chair right here. Literally, I can sit in this chair for a 2-hour gaming session and will not squeak once.
Squeaky chair.
Literally hit record, say my intro, reach over to trigger the intro that you recorded, and I'm hearing a squeak. I don't have a fancy chair like Allie and Toasty do though, so whatever.
I think that Mike's.
Yes, pet your chair. Go ahead, pet your chair, guys. I can't afford a fancy chair like that. I have ATM money, not real work money.
Oh well,
I'm a preschool teacher, so talk to me about money, buddy. This was saving up.
This cost me like $150. It looks like a fancy chair, but it's a knockoff.
I would take a knockoff if it doesn't squeak.
It works.
I got this one there's a reclaimed store near us of office furniture that people don't want. And this one is a high quality one that they were giving at a really good price. So I figured, hey, instead of buying a new one, it's been great, especially when we did the Dawnforge Live and I had to sit my butt in here. My butt was happy.
And it's crazy how much high quality chairs cost. Like I found out that the chairs that we use in our office are like $600.
Oh,
that's a comfy chair. I could not get up for 8 hours and be totally fine with it. I've definitely slept in that chair before.
I haven't seen what you guys chairs you guys use there, but yeah, when I was working at my last job, they got brand new chairs for everybody right after we were acquired by the rainforest, and they got everybody like $600 chairs. And I looked at it. I said, that'll last me about a month. And literally 3.25 weeks later, it was broken.
Oh.
I was like, now let me order this $200 chair, and you can return the $600 one because it should have lasted a lot longer, and I'll be happy, and you'll save money because I don't need a $600 chair. Sometimes pricier is not better.
Wait, Things on Twitch thing.
There's something going on in chat that I won't. I mean, I don't think somebody wants it recorded, so we'll drop it there. But maybe it's a good moment to go into some huge news that we just got. And it's not the news in chat. That is huge news. I'm excited to hear this news. But there's also
before we do that, can I offer one more tip to anybody out there who's considering getting into podcasting?
Yes,
because you actually removed the question that I actually really wanted to answer. The biggest problem I've ever seen with people trying to get into podcasting is getting into it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
One of the first things I ever heard from a podcaster was the smartest advice I ever got, and that is podcast your passion, not for your wallet. If you aren't passionate about what you do, if you're in it because, hey, podcasting is cool, I can make some money off this, people will tell that you're in it for the wrong reasons, and they will tune out because they know you're not there for entertaining them. You're not there to produce a show that is for the community, for the people who are listening. You're in it to make money. And nothing is worse than working just to get money. There's an old saying that's really smart. If you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And the same applies to podcasting. You'll never work an episode of podcasting if you love what you're talking about. And that's why so many years later, I'm still podcasting.
How many years now? It's 11 years, isn't it?
12.
Many years, yes.
And are we including the WoW radio days?
No. If we talk, okay.
Should
include the WoW radio, the MMO radio.
Do
we're
it.
talking.
Do it.
Oh God, like 16 years now.
Your podcasting career can drop.
Yeah.
I started.
Which car is it driving now?
WoW radio before the game launched. I was there when we did a live stream with folks who were at the Fry's Electronics launch in California that they've talked about in all of their documentaries of, oh, we drove up to this thing and we realized we might have something on our hands. We had somebody there. We talked to Kadium, who was one of the original community managers, who's now working at NCSoft, I believe, with Bashiok. And pretty much I took a few months off after MMO radio, but pretty much since then. So basically a long bleep in time.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I hear on podcasts. It's not the money. I mean,
no, if I was doing this for the money, I wouldn't have hit 10 episodes. There was definitely times where there's good money. You know, back around when Shade was on and we interviewed Ghostcrawler and a bunch of authors and voice artists and stuff. Back then, money was decent. You know, I don't think I could make it as a job, but it definitely paid for itself and helped raise the show up and give back to the audience in great ways. But that took a lot of time to build up. That took a lot of work. And those times are gone now. You know? So if I was in it for the money, I wouldn't be doing it anymore. And I wouldn't have started doing it. Because even back then, back in 2007 when the show started, when there's only 4 podcasts out in the WoW universe instead of 4,000 podcasts, which I'm pretty sure is a low number, you know, there wasn't a lot of money in it. There wasn't a lot of money in podcasting back then. And over time, there was a bit here and there, and there has been money. I will say I don't even have $1 for every minute of audio that I've published. And I never will, because that's a lot of minutes.
Yeah. I want to find an app that can total up a RSS feed's number of minutes. It would just be cool to have like how many hours.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Didn't we have a 3-hour episode?
Yes. Shade and I had several super long episodes. You ask Shade lore questions and she's like a rocket.
So before this episode goes into 3 hours, I'll move us on to our.
It's only a minute and 20, an hour and 20. It's fine.
Okay, yeah. I've been like 3 hours.
We got a long way before we hit 3 hours.
Yes. Okay, good. And I think we'll run out of steam by then.
You're funny.
So
You know who's funny? Lady Emma, who disappeared in chat saying Rathion.
Interesting thing.
Well played, Emma. Well played.
Yeah, it's interesting that
I'm closing my phone up now. I am not. That does not exist.
Lady Emma,
Sure.
I needed you when I was in ICC today. I looked for you online and you weren't there. I should have texted you, but I did it before you were home, I think. But Lady Emma, she'll be excited on this next one.
Going into Discord, choosing mute on Lady Emma so she can't speak in chat.
BTR just hit today, and this is build 31337. Oh, wow! This is a elite build.
It is.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So there are lots of good things for you all to discuss on Monday. So and you have the
Finally.
weekend. Yeah.
Finally. Okay, so we're not talking about any of it today because we want to save it all for Monday, right?
Well, there's one or two things I want to talk about. Like,
all right.
And on Monday, I think you'll talk about the new Rathion model.
Sorry, you broke up there. I couldn't quite hear you, but let's move on.
Hey, Allie, can you repeat what I said? Because I think you heard it.
Speaking about the new Rathion model, which, looks pretty cool, and I would like to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing any of you guys. I don't know
well,
why.
You know what? It's okay because you need two people to hear. She only needs one other person to hear, and I can hear it. So we can talk about it.
Toasty gets it. We're good.
Sorry.
We got this.
Frazley, I have a question for you. Who had his AT again?
I said again. I didn't hear your joke.
Well played, Fraz. Well played.
So Rathion. So Rathion might be returning in 8.2.5, which is very interesting, especially because Ali earlier mentioned that there is a story quest with the heart where you do. So maybe it works with that, right? Right, Ali? When you agree?
Sure, maybe. Actually, I think it does, but we'll move on so we avoid spoilers.
Sounds good. But I wanted to bring up a really cool feature, though, because I think for all of us, we're gamers. We love grouping, and it doesn't involve rating. So I think Medros will be happy with this one.
Wait, Medros isn't like rating? What?
This is breaking news across the WoW podcasting community.
Yeah.
Hey, I rated like 5 weeks in a row one time. Come on. And it was mythic, too.
Wow.
Rating. No, it was hardcore.
Wow.
It was get the mount. That's all I remember. And then I kept doing it for a few weeks after that.
I rated for weeks in Molten Core in vanilla.
Oh, I would never have done that. Oh, I hated that place.
Oh, it was lit. But
No.
I could
Moving on, Fraz. Moving on.
So I won't say that was lit like Toadstool. So going on to the biggest feature about 8.2.5 that I think it's a game changer is that they're adding party sync. So I know that Allie's gonna love this for dungeons, and I think what's cool about this is it is definitely a shift in their thinking. So so Blizzard said when players activate party sync, everyone in the party becomes aligned to the same quest state, including phases. And they're able to see where people are. So like you can see which quest people are on, but you can see where they are in the quest and what the progress is ready to turn in. And there's something also they're adding, replaying quests. So if you've already completed a quest, but somebody else wants to complete it, you can now replay that. Apparently with this replay, you will get rewards that are appropriate to your current level, regardless of the original level of the quest.
That's awesome.
Oh, that'll be good. Another way to gear up my priest that I've kind of been neglecting.
Because there are times I want to group with somebody, but I know I'm on a different phase and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to be able to finally do this because that's one thing is I don't group with a lot of people. Like it's hard enough getting a satisfactory stream with Spaz. Hey Spaz, if you're listening, I'm sorry. This weekend had so many raid checks on that. We're going to get another satisfactory stream. That was fun the first time we did it.
That's one of the problems that we have with WoW right now is that, and I talked about this a little bit on Monday, like the multiplayer aspect of WoW outside of instance content, like dungeons, raiding, and PvP battlegrounds, like that group content is lacking, and I feel like giving people this ability to group up and complete old quests for relevant gear, or just getting on the same phase as your friends, it's going to help maybe add some of that multiplayer aspect back into the open world.
Yeah. because like I'm grouping each Wednesday with Michael of the Blue Recluse, and it is nice that we've gotten out of phase. Or there's one time where he completed a quest, and then I didn't have it completed, and it's like, okay, so we need to get back into it, and because I got to get it up to levels right now. He's beating me because of all his herbalism. So
Cheater.
because I mean, one thing with the quest is that if you don't complete it, like if you go with somebody and you're just walking around talking with them, you feel like there's no benefit. And with this replay would at least benefit your time, so that way there would not be that FOMO, that fear of missing out, being like, oh, I can't spend time with you because I got to be off working with this for my raid or my alt or something like that.
Yeah, and like one thing that this has the power to bring back, well, not even bring back, like make a bit easier anyway, is one of the things that I did with my original guild is every once in a while I'll be like, okay, let's create a dwarf tonight. And we're all going to quest together, and we're going to make this a weekly thing where we all just level up together. And that's that. Inevitably, somebody's going to feel like playing that character on a night that's not that leveling night. And eventually the whole thing falls apart because everybody's out of sync.
Yeah.
Something like this helps bring that back.
Absolutely. And I've done that before. I mean, like, it's like Lady Emma right now is in chat saying about play with me, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, we don't run not in the same time zone, not in the same out of sync. But now again, and like that was one thing that we ran into issues. Like when we started the Genome project with Michael, we wanted to have players play with us, but it was hard because we're this far up ahead, and it's like they're not there. It will be interesting to see if you're farther ahead in the quest line and somebody else wants to join up. But that would be where the replay. If they're behind, you could then be like, okay, we will back down and we will do what you're on to get you up to where we want to go.
I'd imagine that's how they'd work that. I don't think they'd want to bring anybody forward.
Yeah, I think that's the smartest thing. I do wonder if they're going to fix, like we've noticed sometimes certain quests will sync for everybody, like you'll get counted and not. I wonder if that's going to change any of that, or if you still have to like loot mobs, do different things, because certain quests act weird, especially in the early content.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns with the system right now, and that's what the PTR is for.
Exactly. And it's interesting you brought up instances, though. So this is going to fix outside instances. They're also looking at fixing instance content. So they want to relax their level restrictions, and you can now be able to queue for content with your friends. And they said this will allow lower level players to queue for content in their level range, and higher level players can choose to join them by having their level scaled down while they're in the instance. And they said, unlike time walking, when your level is scaled down, you will temporarily lose access to the abilities and powers such as Azerite traits with requirements that exceed your reduced level, which I think is smart, because that way you can't overpower a zone. You can't have somebody boost up, because we had some issues. I remember certain things like with even I think Recruit a Friend were reduced because people were boosting characters through levels, grinding them out. Like, wasn't there one where somebody brought somebody in and they were able to get them to 120 within hours?
Oh yeah. So let's not do that anymore.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 14. I played this when I was in my WoW breaks, and it was cool. I could level through dungeons with people of very low levels, and that was so much fun. Like, I was able to talk with new players, kind of help them too. It was fun that I didn't have to worry about, okay, there weren't people on my high level. I'm fine doing the same one. Could this mean Nomergon could finally be a good dungeon again for leveling?
I think ultimately, like, of course, I'm happy that this brings more people into dungeons. I know it's a huge surprise. And I think if I'm understanding this right, you can do this, but if you still want to go power level your friends, just run in instead of queuing.
Yeah, that's what
so I think that's still an option. So that way they're kind of, trying to please more people, which I think this might be a good way to do that.
Yeah. Like, it's not like if you see a toast, like that someone's like queued up for a dungeon, and like, oh, they're far down, you can be like, okay, I'm going to keep with that person. Or, and then I can see in reverse, say you're a high level and one of your friends wants to queue with you, you instead have them queue up and then you join their queue. You'd have to have them queue up to start the queue.
Yeah, and then this way you still keep that high-powered farming because people like going into old content and just saying, "Screw you! Remember when you killed me that one time? Well, I'm gonna blink at you and you're gonna die."
Yes.
It's so sad. Oh my gosh, it's so satisfying.
I am enjoying Legion content right now on high levels because there's some stuff like that, like they just like obliterated me to me. Some things I'm like, yeah, there you go, take that.
Like one of the best experiences I have right now, one of my best joys, is going into that area of Borean Tundra with all the dragons.
Yes.
And
Kuldara.
yeah, Kuldara. And I used to previously freaking out about those dragons when I was flying around, like, oh, it's gonna kill me. I have to worry about it all the time. And now I purposely dismount in midair and heroic throw one of them and kill them on the way down, and then heroic leap so that I don't die when I hit the ground.
Nice.
Oh, and side tangent, because I'm going through old content right now in Legion, working on my fishing pole. When you get the surface engine, make sure to know when you have that equipped, water is like ground. I died on the ocean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes, water is like ground.
Good job, Frazley.
It hurts.
Yeah. Ground hurts.
So you basically belly flopped yourself to death.
Yep. Oh. And I was like, only me could do that.
I don't know, like Stone of formerly of WoW challenges. He's been attempting every week so far to get us to kill ourselves when dropping down one of the wells in Eternal Palace because there's water at the bottom. But he's a Death Knight, so he does what Death Knights do. And Path of Frost, where you can just walk on the water. Well, if you're not ready for that, you'll just die.
Oh, Stone, huge troll.
Oh, he would do that.
Do you remember that one dungeon, I think Nefarian's Lair in Legion, where you have to go down the waterfall?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who typically would end up somehow falling on the rocks every single time and did it also in a Mythic Plus?
Is he a gnome? Perhaps.
Yep.
Does his name rhyme with Frazley?
Yep.
It does now.
I was talking with Smazley earlier, and they said that they felt so bad, but thankfully they did not cost their Mythic Plus team any time, so they still got 3 chests. So,
There you go.
yeah, I like this feature. Like, it's showing that I think Blizzard is learning from like what other games have done, because like Pete was saying how like Final Fantasy 14 and Guild Wars 2 have done this, and I can attest that Final Fantasy 14's done this, and I'm excited because I want to play with people. I want to have more fun in WoW. I don't want it to just be a lonely solo game. Because,
right.
Well, there's one thing that we know that Blizzard does well is improving on features that they got from other games. AoE looting wasn't always a thing, but that in Guild Wars 2, that was a thing, and they just like straight up lifted that.
And AoE looting, as of 8.2.5, now does 50 targets.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is lovely for my old school runs and stuff.
Yep. Okay, I can run through like most of a raid now.
Yeah.
The first boss.
That's a lot of show prep right there.
I love with Frazley, I got the looter rank, so I don't even have to walk over them with my short legs, so it's perfect.
I mean, you're a warrior anyway, right? They'd be near you.
Oh, that is true, because like the melee and stuff like that, which is why I saw so many ogres with butt flaps in Classic.
Ugh.
You know, I much prefer games where you just like the loot auto collects as you walk over it. That's much better.
Oh, that would be fun. And you bring up some really good things, and I think I was asking the community for some of their thoughts too.
Could you have possibly picked a better question for this audience, for this crew? Literally, could you have possibly done a better job?
Oh, thank you. I was trying to do my homework. I was like, what's one thing that I know that ATA crew loves?
Before we move on to that, though, I do have some, what I think is fairly breaking news that I think some people that are listening to this right now will be interested in. If you don't mind me saying so.
Go ahead. I'm all ears.
Well, no, I see eyes and a mouth and There is new cute but deadly stuff in the Blizzard Gear store, including a red World of Warcraft Murloc mug and red Murloc slippers.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
I'm contemplating the mug. Contemplating maybe the slippers.
I just know
Definitely.
people who love mugs and love Murlocs and listen to this, so I figured it might be good information for people.
Like,
Yeah.
I already have the other Murloc mugs. It'd be a shame to not have the red one.
It would be.
I tend to prefer blue or green, but red's not bad either.
I mean, I have the blue and green one already.
And I think with the red Murloc slippers, they definitely are going to probably do a red Kigurami for Murlocs because they have to match the slippers to the onesie.
Okay, I'm gonna buy that. If that came wrong, I'm gonna buy that and I'm gonna wear it on stream because
I could see you doing that. You go for that prize.
Yeah, I can see that be your new show attire.
yes.
Definitely not buying this stuff right now.
As he pulls out his phone.
And there's a person who's been on the show and will be on the show again. Who I heard a Murloc when they were on recently. Their Murloc slippers went off. That person knows who they are and heart hands. I wish we could do like the heart emoji, like I do the heart emoji to a lot of people. But
so I'm rather disturbed that somebody in your chat room is talking about selling souls to buy Murloc slippers.
Are we really surprised it's the Warlock?
No.
they already have my soul, so it's
I deny any claim that they have had access to that at this point.
now. Did they ask for consent for the souls?
No. I was never consulted about that.
So I asked the community if Azeroth were to have a hockey team, because a certain podcast called All Things Azeroth, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they love hockey. Alexa, play Gloria.
Yeah.
I did like I wanted to see Toasty just go like
You could see it playing through his head, and he just like remembering now.
and sorry to any of the people who are using our Alexa skill, which is Gnome Podcast. That's an invocation on Alexa. So sorry about that. But I did it for Toasty. I was asking if Azeroth would have a hockey teams, what would their names be?
So Seth Putrello, if I said that right, said Stormwind Lions, Orgrimmar Scorpids, Booty Bay Buccaneers, yes, the Undercity Ghosts, and the Ironforge Hammers. Some good ones.
Titan's Creed said, for the Alliance, Stormwind Stallions, Darnasian Night Sabers, Exodar Elix, Ironforge Rams, Tinkertown Troubadours, Gilnean Ravens.
Nice.
For Horde, Orgrimmar Wolves, Echo Isles Raptors, Silvermoon Splendors, Undercity Usurpers, Thunderwolf Kodos, and Kazan Crestfallen. And who could forget the Nomergon Pucks?
Tom says the Stranglethorn Slapsticks.
Now, in retrospect, when I said mine, I should have done actual locations. But instead, I went with my normal theme of Murlocs. I'm actually wearing a Murloc shirt now.
Oh, nice.
So I did the Murloc Pirates, mostly because I just want a Murloc Pirate, or the Frozen Murlocs, or maybe the Fighting Murlocs. I could keep going off that theme, trust me.
Do you like Murlocs and Pirates? I had no idea.
Maybe just a little bit.
So what you're saying is, Ali, that we need to now have a home for Murlocs so we can apply this team name to that home.
Yes.
Maybe multiple homes. You know, they can have a southern home, which is where the pirates play out of, a Ice Crown home where the frozen Murlocs play out of. There's a whole division of Murloc teams.
I approve all of that wholeheartedly, as long as it gets me either a Murloc mug, a Murloc pirate mug, or a Murloc pirate plushie. Please, Blizzard, please. Then yes, all of that.
And then some Medros. Do you have a name?
I actually kind of like some of the names that Titan's Creed did. But I mean, they're all fairly expected. I like to think Stormwind is much like LA. It needs two teams. So how about the Stormwind Paladins?
Oh, do you like Paladins? I had no idea.
As Toasty shakes his head.
Hey, at least I'm not saying the Stormwind Golden Knights. I mean, or Paladins, really?
Or the Stormwind White Knights.
I guess Toasty's just like anger.
Okay.
So Toasty, I think you had a couple of answers.
I took this exercise and ran with it.
Yeah, you
Yeah, you did.
Like,
This is awesome.
took off with it.
I did something a little bit different with this. I basically took names of existing hockey teams and applied them to various locations throughout Azeroth. So I have the Ulduar Titans, the Stormwind Griffins, the Darnassus Blades, the Gilneas Growlers, the Ironforge Thunder, the Galtiran Admirals, the Nomergon Bombers, the Exodar Comets, and I forgot to include this one in the list, but I'm going to say it now. The Teldrassil Flames.
Oh,
Toasty.
Too soon.
For the Horde, I have the Orgrimmar Nailers, the Thunderbluff Rampage, the Silvermoon Nighthawks, the Undercity Phantoms, and the High Mountain Moose.
good one. I like that one. Awesome.
Yeah.
Ogremar Nailers.
That is the team out of Wheeling. I think that's in Michigan.
So do people say that after they're defeated that we got nailed?
Well, see, the Nailers I was going for were like all the spike aesthetic they've got going on.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
I felt like that fit. I was having a hard time thinking of something to go with Orgrimmar with the existing hockey teams, but I felt like I couldn't leave Orgrimmar out at the same time.
I mean, I might have gone for the Undercity Whalers, but just spelling Whalers differently. But
all these teams are real teams. They either exist in the NHL, AHL, ECHL, or WHL. I reached for a lot of teams, guys.
I'm impressed.
It's a problem.
You might like hockey. I maybe just a tiny bit.
I've got 11 jerseys in this closet.
And that's what, a third or a fourth year collection?
And how many jerseys are you up to now?
11 jerseys. That's a fifth of my collection. About. I've got 52 jerseys.
One for every week of the year.
That number's gone up since I first started.
Significantly gone up.
With you guys on ATA, that's all I'm going to say.
He's found several sales.
Yes, it has.
It's almost like I came across a lot of disposable income now that my car's paid off.
Something like that.
And my car payments are conveniently the cost of roughly a jersey. A little bit more.
So when you go check out now, you can say zoom, zoom, zoom right to my home.
Funny you should say that. My first car was the car from the Zoom Zoom commercials.
Oh, nice!
I zoomed with that car a little too much.
Was that car also in Xenon Girl of the First 21st Century?
No.
Oh.
I don't know what that is.
It's a movie. It's one of my favorite movies because Xenon. And Ellie, we had a late edition.
Yes, from Leo Wild. Hi, Leo. They say the Voldoom Vultures.
Well, that's a good one, too.
Yeah. I said the Lich King's Invincible.
Would they really exist, though? I mean, would they really exist?
You couldn't tell. You can't see them.
Oh. So when they're going down, like, hey, we're right here. I didn't see you. Good one, Ellie. I face-bombed internally.
I feel like you were opening the door for that, so I've been through enough to know to do that.
Do I open the door or do I just like open it wide and like?
Yeah, you basically just like you kick open, like if it's like double doors, you just like kick them open and you're like bram.
Yeah,
like that.
And I mean, I'm so glad that I kicked the doors open tonight because I had a blast with all three of you.
Oh, this is great. It's a lot of fun.
And sadly, the time has come for us to find out where we can find you on the interwebs. Besides All Things Azeroth, which you can find at allthingsazeroth.com, on Twitter at allthingsaz, and every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern in the All Things Azeroth Discord in the Showtime channel. How was that?
9 p.m. Eastern-ish.
Yes.
You're muted, Medros.
Dawnforge time is a bit odd. Like, it's never really a solid 8 o'clock Central Time. Dawnforge time is 8-ish in Central. So 9-ish in Eastern.
And I definitely understand, like, I try to start at 9 p.m. Eastern, but sometimes guests aren't here or there's tech difficulties or something. So I don't like starting early, but I'm more okay starting late.
Makes sense.
So besides that, where can we find you? And I'm going to start with Ellie to be alphabetical this time.
Legit alphabetical.
Yes.
So beyond All Things Azeroth, you can find me on my show Dungeon Fables, and you can find that at dungeonfables.com or on Twitter at Dungeon Fables. Or you can find me, like my personal account, at AliandrersK on Twitter.
And what's going on in Dungeon Fables this week again?
This week we're taking a little bit of a breather. I'm just going to do a little mini cast, a little peek behind the scenes as I kind of, tweak some things, freshen up a couple things. It's good.
Always good to take a breather. It's good to...
There's still something getting released. Don't worry. Just not the normal episode.
And Medros, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Medros, and you can find me on the show every week because I'm pretty much there every week.
And Toasty, when you aren't doing it live, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ToastyPostyCan. You can also find me on Twitch because I started streaming again because Ali guilted me into doing it. No.
How did I guilt you into doing that?
You just told me to start doing it again. It wasn't really
That's not guilting. That's just.
I couldn't think of.
That's me being an encouraging friend.
Okay, Ali encouraged me to start streaming again, so that's what I did. So far, I'm streaming every Wednesday and Thursday from 7 till 10 Central. Right now, it's just streaming raid progression, and it'll probably expand beyond that once I figure out what I want to do.
I imagine there's some Overwatch in there, just as a thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You could start streaming, if we play After All Things Azeroth, you could start streaming that. You did that this week.
Yeah, and that was cool, because then I got to see you respond 30 seconds later to what I was hearing in Discord.
It's twitch.tv/ToastyPostyCan. And you can find me playing a mediocre warrior.
And one thing I learned this week when working on the show notes is that Posty is Posty. I kept trying to figure out why Twitter couldn't bring up Toasty and then Posty. Like, I learned a while back that can is Canada, it's not that Toasty Posty can do this. It's
you're not the only person to make that comment. One cosplayer that I follow, she was wondering where the can came from. She just always assumed it was a self-affirmation for myself. Like, Toasty, you can do this. Toasty Posty can. No, it's just because Toasty Posty was taken on Twitter, and I couldn't figure out a way to differentiate myself. I didn't want to use a number. So, this is Canadian Toasty Posty.
See, the benefit for me is I saw it with the capitalization on can and knew it was Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work.
But if you don't see the can on Twitter, then you don't know that it's Canada.
It's the American version of Toasty Posty. And what would that be like?
Okay, so the Canadian version of Toasty really likes hockey. So the American version of Toasty would like whatever sports Americans typically like.
Football?
Baseball?
Basketball?
So basically any of the 4 major leagues that aren't hockey.
Activating customized corporate transporter.
Well, I am back in my home of Ironforge until we one day reclaim Gnomergon.
Let's look at what has been happening in the community.
Awesome idea. Let's do that. So now that the world first race is kind of over with Method and Limit claiming first and second place, I wanted to bring to light something that Alessandra told me about. The Method stream raised over $66,000 for a charity called Save the Children. Their goal was $20,000 and they crushed it. A consultant for the charity reached out to crowdherogaming.com and they commented that over the last several years, Save the Children has partnered with the online gaming community and content creators across platforms like Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook to help in our efforts to ensure that every last child has the chance to grow up healthy and safe. We are thrilled and honored to have Method celebrate Save the Children's 100th anniversary and mission by choosing us as their beneficiary for yet another race to world first, this time for the Eternal Palace. I think that it's an important thing to bring up, as one thing I've been astonished by since I began covering this community is how generous it is to charities and people in need. Alessandra also brought to my attention a charity run in memorial by Sean Clark for John Bain, aka Total Biscuit, Geoff Robertson, aka In Control, who passed away recently, and Sean's parents. This run will be in September. Sean will be running the marathon and donating all proceeds to charity. Sean outlines all of this on a GoFundMe that had a goal of 1,000 and has now reached over 9,000. And one final thing that Alessandro also brought to my attention, I hope you know how much Alessandro does and how much passion they have for the community, for StarCraft, and for gaming. I've seen their notes for the Pylon show, and it takes my breath away. Well, Alessandro brought to my attention that TESPA Collegiate is an organization that operates tournaments for every Blizzard game, but this year, they have an all-new varsity series for Overwatch. It's a new format, and I've got the details in the show notes for this. I'm a huge proponent for esports. It's a valid and viable sport. I'm a ballroom dancer, which may soon be an Olympic sport. They are finalizing the details and certifying judges for it, so I'm excited for things like esports, and I'm a proponent for TESPA because they are going to pave the way for esports being in the Olympics. So if you're listening and you are interested in trying out, I've got a link in the show notes. Well, it's been another packed episode of FrazlCast. So I was on Epic Fail Podcast 199, and I gotta say, I was kind of sad that this was the last one for now. I'm hoping that Draven brings it back because, Draven, you are fun. I know, again, you think I'm crazy because you're fun, and I think that I have a fun time talking with you, but please, when life gets better and things get less crazy for you, please bring back the Epic Fail podcast. But yeah, you can catch that on the podcast. We had a great time. I talked with Allie, who I always like talking with, so definitely check out this final send-off. For now, I really want to stress that I truly believe it's for now, but check out this on Epic Fail Podcast 199. And I was also on Load Screen Podcast, episode 17, or I will have been once this airs. I'm sure I had a great time. I have a link in the show notes to it. Plaggy Boy is scheduled to be on FrazlCast 119, which is recording this Thursday. So definitely bring a lot of ranch. And I want to give a thank you to Elliot of Tess and Elliot Argue, who gave me a review on Apple Podcasts. They said it's a unique take on Warcraft. They said they enjoy Warcraft, and this gives me more of that without being just a repeat of info I can find elsewhere. His guests are interesting and really make the show. Thank you a lot. That means a lot. And that's definitely one thing I've tried to bring is I try to make it different, try to bring my own spin on it, and also bring the spin and personality of the guests. This show, I recently changed one of the taglines. It's a show by a Blizzard fan gnome starring you. And in fact, Elliot, it will be starring you. I have you on the guest list, so I'm so excited. I've started putting these reviews on the website, and at some point I may have to actually start rotating these out. Thank you to everybody who puts a review on the site. It really means a lot to me. And it helps give me that creative Red Bull. In addition to thanking everybody that gives me that Red Bull every week, one way that you can also give me Red Bull is through financial, so I can actually buy Red Bull, although I don't drink energy drinks. But thank you to my Twitch subs out there, like Michael of the Blue Recluse and the Genome Project, and also somebody who's over at Disneyland this week. I'm so jealous. Thank you to Erlina, who is an awesome supporter of All Things Azeroth and is in the chat every week, and I'm craving popcorn right now. Thank you to Capo, who helps keep me on my toes with Facebook, Messenger, Discord, Twitter. Always gives me a laugh. Thank you to Chris of MMA Reporter, and I hope that one returns it someday. Thank you to Raz, who always gives me a facepalm and makes me feel good. Thank you to Smashersaurus. Thank you to Sal, who surprised me and always makes me feel so good and always makes me feel like I'm amazing. Because Sal, you're amazing, so you know your amazingness just shined off on everybody else. Thank you to Thorn of Lagging Balls and Convert to Raid. And thank you to Zortz the Goblin, who has one of my sayings from the 100th episode on their soundboard. Oh boy, to quote Pat Crane. And thank you to Polly and Valicia for the bits this week. If you want to support the show financially, please go to support.gnomepodcast.com. All of this goes to help supporting this labor of love. I say it every week, but really, I thank you all and everybody, even if you can't do financially. I don't expect any of you to. I'm always amazed at those who do, but thank you to everybody. You are awesome. Well, I am Frazley, and you can find the show at gnomepodcast.com. So until next week, be awesome. Welcome to the Frazley Report, a short broadcast by me, the Awesome Gnome, about the world of Warcraft. So the Kirin Tor Tavern Crawl is on July 31st. I know I will definitely see Lady Emma, Allie, and Gin. They're all going to be there, and they're all going to have a lot of fun. Just remember to drink responsibly. And don't try to ride a mount when you're drunk. Have you ever tried it? You go all over the place. I kept running into trees. We need that auto-run system that I talked about a while back. And you know those jellies on that world quest? Well, apparently they've been very stunning. No, I mean literally, they've been stunning people. So Blizzard hotfixed that on July 23rd, and they will hopefully stun a lot less people. I'm just tickled to hear this. And I've got some bad news. Pugs are going to be a lot more toxic. So Blizzard hotfixed Taunt to make tanks have a lot more threat. And this really made me cry. So I was running this one dungeon, and this tank just told me, your mama joke. Thankfully I was able to record this, so here's what they said to me.
Your mom is so fat that when she went to the beach, a whale swam up and sang, "We are family, even though you're fatter than me."
Blizzard, why did you have to do this? Why did you have to make the pug so much more toxic? So I'm just going to warn everybody, please, be careful when you go into a pug. Okay, regain my composure. Okay. And some better news. A group that is not pugging is Method. And they just claimed world first on a mythic Queen Azara kill. So way to go, Method! So maybe you aren't doing normal, heroic, or mythic, but you want to go see what's in the Eternal Palace. Well, I've got good news for you. Raid Finder Wing 2 opens up with Lady Ashvane, Gorgonzola, and the Queen's Court. Just be careful with that increased taunt. And something else that is taunting us right now. 8.2.5 is taunting us. So Wowhead points out that the encrypted vendor build 31230 has now landed on the PTR. So what's great about this one is this is the build that's going to have the Goblin and Worgen models and what's going to happen next after the Queen of Azara raid. So there's a lot of speculation going on with that. And that also means that we are in leak territory. So Peter's Stories Around Azeroth brought to my attention all the leaks that are happening, and we even discussed it on episode 11 of Stories Around Azeroth. So Icy Veins has a look at all the leaks so far, and I've got a link in the show notes so you can check that out. There's a lot of stuff happening. Sorry, I was just talking to the eye on my... no, I don't have any eye on my forehead. Nope, I'm not part of a secret society. Shh. So I have to report on something that happened last episode. I talked about Silvermoon News, and at the time, they were not showing up on my Twitter. The account wasn't there. So either it was the new Twitter update, which has made everything crazy, which I recommend now using TweetDeck because I use that, or maybe our support brought Silvermoon News back. So Silvermoon News, we are glad to have you back. Well, I think with that, though, I need to head on out of here because this is the end of the report. So until next time, be awesome.
FrazlCast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. Views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard games and are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended. The Gnome Train intro is by Allie of Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth, and the opening music is by Brandon T. Blaylock.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.